check, check. Check. H5 recorder. Okay. That's 15 minutes. Timer out. Is that better? So we got here live feed. I don't even know how to operate this anymore. All right. Test mic. How about now? Oh, well, put it up. Wow, I hope that's not too hot. Looks good on the, looks good if I talk normal. Okay, great. Got my tea, got my image up on the screen. Looks like we're almost ready. All the windows where they need to be. Whew. And sharpen some pencils now. Got to be prepared. do a little 4B charcoal here as well. All manner of things to draw with. I don't know what I'm gonna do today. So, a Boy Scout, just trying to be prepared. You should be. Might change the materials at the break. I don't really know. I was listening to a podcast on YouTube. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it was a lecture that Jordan Peterson was giving. And he talked about Artist and Picasso. And seeing a video back in the day of Picasso working. I think he was painting on the back of the glass, so you could like see through in the beginning, and that you could see the methodology that Picasso was working with. And Picasso, you know, the wanting to be a 7-year-old, the idea of the process being the art, and seeing Picasso rub out and erase and make up as he went. So he didn't know what he was already going to do. And so the comments from Jordan Peterson were the difference between, and I'm paraphrasing, the difference between propaganda and art are in the process. With propaganda, you already, before you begin, know what the end result is going to be. And so you see Soviet era art, and a lot of propaganda art has that kind of classical, almost impressionistic sometimes too feel, but it has a definitive message that it's trying to convey. Whereas art and artists follow an open path, allowing it to meander and to discover and let it take them where it takes them. And so one of his definers, the difference between art and propaganda, was in the process and openness. I'm going to take this tea bag out of here. We've got 5 minutes on the clock, and I hope some of you guys are already starting to join in. I know it's been a few weeks, and we'll talk about that at the beginning. We're going to do things a little differently the rest of the summer. And I'm glad for anyone who can join me, whether they join me live today, Wednesday, July 8th, 6 to 9 p.m., or whether you are watching this as a replay from the YouTube archive. I'm going to put this in the compost and I'll be back. I can't remember if I did it to the atelier. The atelier story? or my personal story? Let's go personal. Come on. Sure. Certainly. 40 seconds. And then we'll be getting down to the nitty gritty. And maybe being a Virgo, maybe I'm starting a little early. I don't know. It's fine. Join in whenever you want. Watch. Listen. This might be a train wreck. Hey, there we go. There we go. Oh. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. If you're on Instagram, normally I don't broadcast these because it killed my data plan. But also, my phone doesn't stay charged very long and it tends to die. And so this will probably cut out after about 20 minutes. We're going to draw from a photo I took while studying at the Paris Academy of Arts, which was 2 summers ago, exactly this time. And the reason I'm bringing it up is actually because it came up on my Facebook feed and reminded me, my favorite thing is actually sculpture. My first degree from AU Arts is in sculpture, in part because I didn't really want to paint. I wanted to learn to weld, and I wanted to learn from Katie Owe and some of the other great teachers there. And the studio spaces were much larger. I am thanking you for joining me because, and hopefully you can hear me, hopefully I'll get some feedback on the YouTube channel. I'd rather you guys be on the YouTube, to be honest, because I can see you there and I can deal with comments. This Instagram thing I can't look at. The camera, the battery's gonna die, all sorts of things. So I'm gonna use tan tone paper as I have in previous weeks. The reason why I hadn't cast for a few weeks was I did fall down some stairs and hurt my back pretty bad, so it's very difficult. It was very difficult to sit at the donkey, or drawing horse, but I'm back and excited to see how rusty 3 weeks have made me. 25 minutes on the clock, which is the Pontomoro timing. I'm gonna bring it up for you YouTube guys, so you're not gonna see a lot of this hair like you're seeing right now by bringing the drawing board up. Camera's right over my head in the other view. Hopefully you guys on Instagram didn't totally lose your scene. By the way, this episode is brought to you by Bubbly. These things are delicious and have no sugar. So after I drink my tea, that's what we'll be getting down to. If you're looking for the image that I took in the Louvre, it's on the Instagram, it's on Facebook. Just steal it, grab it, go to atelierartista.com and snag it. I decided I didn't know what to draw with today, so I'm using General's layout pencils, which are soft black graphite. But because I'm rusty and I didn't know what I wanted to do, I also have a variety of soft charcoal pencils that are older than me. We'll see what happens. So we're drawing a figure, but we're drawing a figure that has already been translated by an artist into bronze sculpture. So, and there's a snake, which is really cool. So while I go through, I'll try to keep the talking alive and keep it interesting, kind of like an art podcast. That's why I've got this fancy mic here, so I can pick up my voice, and hopefully it's clear for you guys today. I want this to be interesting and useful for you while my studio's still closed. We are figuring out some transitional stuff, but I think for the rest of the summer, I'm gonna, rather than working from photos of a live model, I'd like to go through from my trips to Italy and Portugal and work off some of the beautiful sculptures and maybe more mythological stuff, which we'll get into the project that I'm currently working on. So 25 minutes on the clock, Pontomoro timing. If you're using the image, you see this great big arc. So the first thing we want to get is our gesture. So I'm going to put the gesture in, and that's the arc of the back foot all the way up to the head. So it's not speaking of the spine, of the leg, of the anatomy, but giving the overall feeling for the piece. The other thing that I'm going to do is find a plum. And if I drop a line from his elbow straight down, it goes right through near his crotch. There's some markers on the snake, but it's not exactly in the center. So I'm going to slightly offset my plumb line, just like you would do with a still life. I'm not going to take any measurements at first. The first 20 minutes are going to be more gestural, lay-in. And what's nice about sculpture is we can simplify it. This isn't the best lit photo, right? It's in an outdoor area that's all glass, so it's all blown out. But this is going to allow us to find where our knowledge is about some of the anatomy. And having been out of the running for a little while, I'm interested in seeing how much of this I've lost. So I'm just going to put a signifier for the arm that's held overhead. This is Hercules, and he's holding a big rock. So that's getting a little too close to the top of the page for me. I do want to give myself a little bit of room to move, and so maybe my gesture should be down here. And I'm going to try to draw darker than I normally would, just so the camera picks it up. But that could spell bad news for me later, that's for sure. So we'll find a head placement directly below where that rock is, vertically below. And I'm going to do it about the size, maybe a little, like of a small egg. Small egg here. He's looking down. There's his nose. I love the silhouette in this drawing, or sorry, in this picture here. So this will be his arm. Okay. So let's think. We've got this gesture. His foot's going to land hopefully around here. if my eyeball is treating this right. I'll take some measurements and check things probably in the next part of the session. But for now, we're gonna go just by feeling. So I like to go head, chest mass, right? So the center line is coming down here, and then hips. Hips are quite a ways out. There are many ways that you can do hips. This particular time I'll just use a cylinder and keep that leg going down. So I'm using the side of my pencil too and actually taking an opportunity to help sharpen it as I work. There are all sorts of little tricks of the trades. If I look at where the body is bending, it's bending straight down my plumb line. So that's where the hips actually will go to. Maybe I got them a little bit wider on this side. But still just getting a general idea. Where is that knee falling? Somewhere behind the head, right? So it's like I'm putting plumb lines or being like a printer and figuring out some of my placements, more so for weight than anything else. I might be making this too tall and skinny and have to bring things in. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Not too worried at this point. Just feeling it out. So if you watched the beginning of this thing, you would have heard me talking about the difference between art and propaganda. This being art, presumably, maybe if it was made in Greek times, it would have been propaganda. We're not so sure. But I was listening to a YouTube video or a podcast, I can't quite remember, and I believe it was Jordan Peterson who's talking, and your opinions of Jordan Peterson aside, doesn't affect me. I'm still going to talk about it. He was talking about, and I might also say he is a collector of Soviet propaganda, or so he said in this little talk. And he's saying that the difference between propaganda and art is the process. In art, like that video of Picasso working where you see him through the glass, he doesn't have a plan. He is drawing and allowing the process of art to influence and help him make it. So not having fear, being childlike, and creating as part of the process, not having the answer already. And Jordan Peterson's argument is that propaganda already has the end result determined. So there's not a questioning, there's not seeking through story and through technique, but there is already a determined message that needs to be said. And so maybe art, I'm doing this snake now, maybe art doesn't live there. Maybe art is a process of discovery in which we have to journey and go through our fears. It's interesting when we run into, you've been drawing figure for so long and then you run into a snake. So how do you break it down? Just think simple shapes. Just like in terms of the design that the sculptor chose, they simplified and made things more beautiful in terms of its design. Back to this Jordan Peterson thing, if I can even keep my train of thought. And that is, so when we are creating, we have to have faith. We have to give up some things. We have to relinquish some control, which is part of our process, which is what maybe makes artists brave or strong. And so I decided maybe we'll work a little bit with mythological stuff and allow art to happen again in terms of our storytelling, since I don't have a model in here and we're having the inspiration come from the beauty that is the body that's in here. So maybe there's something we can learn from these sculptures that I'll be picking over the next few weeks. We can talk a little bit about mythology. My next body of work is going to rely heavily on these things, story being the important thing, and something that came up in the podcast I did recently, if you guys heard that. And so moving forward, I'm going to try to integrate these things a little bit more. So snake body. And don't forget one of the cardinal things, squinting. We're in a very beginning stage here, and so it can be the tendency to get tied up, literally like he is, with the details. This is just the human mind at work. It just really loves the details. I know that too, of being a detail-oriented Virgo type person. I get caught up in it all the time, and so sometimes for me drawing is helpful in teaching me not just how to see, but it informs how I live my life. It's meditation in many ways, and I have been seriously lacking meditation lately. This ought to help me out quite a bit. I'm just going to run across the knee. I'm assuming this is where the knee is, but just to see where that transition is going to be. And just eyeballing it, I got pretty close already. Just drawing basic shapes, outlines, just looking to have kind of like mannequinization at this point. I'm going to simplify a lot of these shapes to give me a way to talk about anatomy and to use the sculpture and its over accentuation of lines to help us understand what's going on. There are very few people, even in Hollywood today, that have the definition and the serratus here. You know, we're gonna use this as an opportunity, this beautification of the norm here, to learn what we know and what we don't know. One of the things about everybody being away from the studio is we need to work on our perfect practice. What is it that we are, where are we at, and what are we trying to learn? And without the community that we're so fortunate to have, we're not in a system of feedback. And so we might be on our own lacking guidance and making the same mistakes over and over again. Without the watchful eye or useful critiques, I'm going to move the knee up a little bit. It's kind of like a G.I. Joe here. So I'm going to show where the pecs are, and they're actually quite a bit higher angle. If you have the work in front of you, hold your pencil up at the angle you see it, and without twisting your wrist, just bring it down, and you'll see that you can move diagonals down. That type of measurement, it's a reference. I would call it triangulation. Your measures will come from the horizontal and vertical axis, more than likely. You can also say, if this is the back of the head, you can point it down through, like drawing through a line, like pickup sticks, and you can see if it intersects the chest, that makes the nipple up here. But also, where does it touch? The oblique, in terms of what I'm looking at. And you'll see a lot of these geometries that you can find and puzzle your way through. Really, that's what we're doing, is solving this visual riddle, this puzzle. Tea. So, just going to give him a little bit more mass on the back of his head here. Let's hope this doesn't suck. I have been away from the drawing boards for too many weeks now. I feel rusty. But if it's like riding a bike, this should be no problem, right? Assuming I still got it. Although the first time I got on a bike this year, I did mess up a little bit. I wasn't used to the handlebars or the braking, and over I went. Plus I had a flat tire. Luckily, I was where I wasn't supposed to be, which is in the 4th floor hallway at C-Space. I decided, because it was crappy weather out, I hand pumped my tires and gave them a little test drive up here on the 4th floor. The floors are really slick, and I slid when I braked. Lots of fun. I didn't get hurt there, so. Okay, so I'm looking at negative spaces as well. That space seems too large from where the arm will be. Maybe I'll make his arm a little bit stronger, bigger, more productive. And then we'll take some measurements here shortly just to check. But I want to just get some ideas of what I'm interested in. And then we'll simplify into, like, you know, cylinders, those types of shapes. Still, I don't really have a plan. If I take this line and I look at the collarbone line, which is slightly less, can run from the achromium process across. That's where you'll see the divot of the deltoid coming in here. I think it's going to be a little bit more down. As soon as I pulled up the pictures from France, I saw one that I'd like to do next week. It's 2 figures. We'll see. It might be too difficult. I tried to pick something easy this week because I don't know where my drawing skills are at right now. And I'm broadcasting this, so risk taker right here. But every time is a little bit different technique. We might change the lighting on this guy. Wow. His arm only goes up to here. Okay. Might change the lighting on this guy. The back of the lat's coming down, and I see it kind of like a spear shape. Spear that lines up with his brow. Okay, that seems to work. Fit the puzzle pieces together. And then refine. The other technique, which I consider a little bit more painterly with shapes and maybe more relating to the classical method of drawing, would be, just to draw the architecture of the shapes. I can show that in the next step. With 8 minutes left, I'm just going to try to get the rest of this anatomy in here. Ear's going to sit right here. Brow's kind of looking down. So we'll place the nose here for now. And it's halfway, brow, chin. He's got a beard in this. But for now, we're just going to give notations so you can see where I am. Hercules has crazy hair in this sculpture. I guess when you're sculpting hair, you gotta just make the most beautiful ringlets ever. What a pain in the ass that would be to carve. So even though I got a sculpture degree, I have never, ever carved marble, which I think is really sad. There was a school by Sculptor's Funeral podcast guy, Jason, I can't remember his last name. I apologize for that. I got to go see his space. Martino brought us to all sorts of cool places when we were in Italy, and that was really neat. It also killed my belief in what I was told in art school about famous sculptors and how they made their work, because I realized it wasn't like we said, which was romanticized. You know, Michelangelo unearthed magically from the front to the back by carving away what was already latent in the rocks. No, they made a clay maquette and they measured and broke it up, and it is a craft. Just like our art here. You know, people say, oh, you've got so much talent. God, that drives me crazy. Because I got so much student loans from getting so much talent. I got so much heartache, so much time and life lost. That's not talent, right? That's skill. And I wouldn't have an art school if it wasn't about learning skill, because I don't think you could teach things otherwise. Like, there's an actual craft, and it's been practiced for hundreds of years, and we should have great respect for those who went before us and those who continue to work hard on what they're doing today. Because it's not easy being an artist, even in these times. Who knows who's going to be an artist now? It seems like everybody, based off sales of art supplies, everyone's going to be an artist after this. But I've sacrificed a lot of things, and I've also devoted a lot of time into this. So I still get a lot of joy, and I'm mostly upset that because of my injury, I've missed out on some things, like drawing last week. Oh, it does hurt to sit for a long period of time, but I'm going to take breaks. Let's get the oblique. We got 5 more minutes, so I'm going to just refine some shapes, and we're going to figure out what to do next. I'll probably measure some things. I mean, already in 20 or so minutes, I think I've got fairly good look here. I'm going to bring his leg in slightly, but I got to sit back to look, because sitting in this chair, I'm far too close, far too intimate. So this leg is going to come like this now. Snake. Maybe I'll bring the snake's head over as well. I'm looking at the negative shapes when I'm these areas, when I'm judging distances rather than the thicknesses, because where you put your line, are you on the outside of the arm or the very inside of the arm? And then you add that thickness. So in real life, that might be 2 inches. And so whether I draw here or whether I draw here makes all the difference in the world. But by looking at abstract relationships, I don't have to worry about that, because I've flattened it, and now I know I'm on the outside of this arm, because I'm talking about the air shape here. I find that very helpful a lot of the time when I'm unsure, especially with the limbs. There is like a tree branch behind Mr. Hercules here. I guess I should include it. It's there to hold him up. I might take it out just so we can see more of the snake's body, just to add a little bit of drama. But my goal isn't to change much here. You know, I'm not making the snake's head bigger on purpose. It is what it is if I mess up, but we're not trying to change the art. Just like when we draw the body, we're not trying to change it so much. We idealize it. We try to copy it quite a bit so that we have a baseline for ourselves and our learning. So we'll move that foot in. We'll find out later what that foot is equal to. 3 minutes left. We go on 25 minutes because somewhere I read that that is the most efficient use of our focus and time. So we're trying to be efficient and effective, because as I get older, I realize I have less and less time to do what it is I'm supposed to do and what I want. So if I can be a little more efficient, I can get more done. One of my stepdads used to say, first you get good, then you get fast. So speed comes with mastery. Rather than trying to go for speed, you don't get as good, right? You want to make sure you're good first. And then you just will be fast. All right. So refine this leg a little bit more. So really it's just a big tube, like a toilet paper tube. Just want to add some roundness to the form here. the thoracic arch. Some shapes going on here that we can just find. There's like a round shape that goes up and down the pecs like this. And this is also taught in the Riley method, I believe. I don't know it myself. I've taken only minutes of study with Luke about it, but I see those guys using it a lot. Maybe at the end too, we'll do a side-by-side critique and see how far off I am after being out of practice for a little bit. It's always fun to brutalize yourself to a point. I'm not feeling super confident about drawing today, but maybe it'll just be funnier that way, you know? Okay, so now I'm just gonna take a head measure. This is gonna be my first measure. I just wanna see, yeah, gotta move my knee. So, that's it. If you're on Instagram watching, join us on YouTube. It's much better. And if you're already on YouTube, we're taking 5 minutes. Thank y'all. Wait, I'll move it more straight for you guys. Maybe I didn't even go on. Break time. 5 minutes. I forgot to turn my story on. Damn, Hercules. I think your arm needs to be a little bit higher up. Let's take a 20-minute shot. 20-minute shot. All right. Oh, hey, people are here. Hey, Jeffrey. Yay, audio. Did this not send? Session. Send. What the fuck? Send. So now. I typed something into this chat and it's not doing anything. Chat. Enter. Go. Oh. Is that what? I see now. Send. Aha! Stupid bunny. Amateur night. Huh. One more minute. Amazing fast. Okay. Maybe I can pull this up a little bit. Got this model so we can talk about some of the muscles we're going to see on this guy today. There's a great stretch on this side and compression and compression. In fact, I can see that I'm going to have to put the leg out a little bit further. Okay, Pontamoro timing. I wanna just see if I can't, I'm gonna pull the, oh, maybe that's risky, pulling the laptop down here. Okay, I'll just point out some of the things that I observed wrong with what I've done so far. I put an extra minute, but you know, whatever. So upon looking at this and taking a small break, the interesting thing is, so I have to elongate his arm actually a little bit. It's getting too truncated in. It doesn't look like it's rising above his head. I still have that gesture, but things are getting blocky. And I often leave the legs till last. That's just for me because I tend to draw them too wide. And so far that's happening. So instead of drawing the muscles on top of these cylindrical shapes I've drawn, I'll be drawing them inside and cutting them out. So it's better to draw on the outside of them, I believe. That's just something that you're going to want to change with your practice. Just observe what you're doing. If you can, step outside, or maybe you can do a live stream and watch it later and cry yourself to sleep at night. The interesting thing is we have all these bow-like stretches on this side, a bow shape. And these are all expansion, right? On this side, we have compression with the folding. We have a compression of the leg. And then one more bowing of the arm. And so what I think is interesting is contrast. And the guy who sculpted this is showing a lot of contrast, a huge amount of stretch on this side of the body. Knowing those compression and expansion things are great. It shows us where muscles are tight or here gravity or fat are folding. Now I want to get a little bit more analytical and measure around the reference and just say, okay, head, arm, what do we have here before we start to commit these lines a little bit deeper? Because after this stage, other than shadow shapes and patterns, there's not a lot of going back on in terms of proportions, in terms of what I'm going to be doing here. And so, it's a risky business. It's a risky business. I thank you guys who have already put messages. It's nice to know someone's listening. I'm trying to do these so you don't even have to watch me draw unless you like want to look up and be like, what the hell is he talking about? Kind of like an active mind puke podcast. It's a little bit hard to draw and talk without saying a lot, so I apologize for that, but just flow of thoughts. As I start rendering, I'll probably get real quiet because that's what I need to do. Anyhow, that's gonna be a tough one to get rid of. I'm gonna take head measurements and just look. I don't have quite enough angle on my head, and just check through my figure. So I'm taking head to chin, and then I'm going to take nose to pec. And that places the sternum a little bit higher up in my case. So I'm just going to go through and find things that relate. Okay, so that I'm just setting markers, really. I can't really see a belly button. But because the body's stretched out, I know it's going to be about a head down. Maybe not. Let's look. Look, look, look. So one head down from the chin, that's where the thoracic arch is bending in. So I'll just put it, I'm using the side a lot. I like to be soft here and rub the paper a lot and be more ambiguous so that I have room to grow in. There's a line, so if I get his neck in, we'll just put it in here. There's a line going, that curving line. It actually is an S curve. It curves around the deltoid too. Directly below the lat comes in. So it's actually out a little more of an angle. The lat comes in at the groin. So I'm using lots of references looking above and below. I'm going to take a head measure and start measuring up the arm. I was worried it was a little short, but actually that is where my elbow's supposed to be. Okay. Let's check the angle of the elbow or of the arm. So I just bring so the angle's correct. However, I believe it should be a little higher up. I feel like I've compressed space a little bit, and it looks more like he's bringing his arm down rather than halfway through this crushing swing. The sculptor of this, my lord, he is amazing at showing this pause of time, but the movement. How would you do that, you know? Frozen in stone. There's another thing, is that this is a bronze. The information is posted. I don't know all the historical stuff. In fact, I am totally ignorant to this particular story. I know that, what was his name? I can't even say his name. Achates or whatever. He was the king or the god of the river, right? Because Hercules was what, half mortal. And this river king could change form. He could be the form of a snake to represent the meandering of the river, or he could turn into a bull. And I guess Hercules, I mean, I can look this stuff up, but it was the position of the body that interested me. I am taking a mythology course, but I'm not even this far up in time in terms of the Greeks. You can get a library card for free in Calgary. If you don't have one already, you're crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So from the chin straight up is the side of the hand. I will check the measure of the head to the length of the arm. Okay. So, and it should be. So the wrist will be right here. Let me just check where my wrist is, straight down. So my wrist should be here. So what's happened, I can either slide the head over. That might be doable. So I've got a little too much distance this way. If I take the head length, the back of the head to the arm, yeah, my arm needs to come in a little bit. So this is why I say, you know, you can refine in this stage. Oh, now he's got a thin muscle arms like me rather than Hercules. Let's add some mass to that bicep. Let's not have a little skinny arms here. He's crushing this snake's head. I love the moments that they choose. And by they, I mean great artists. So I'm still on kind of a plumb line here, but not perfectly in the center. The groin is to the left of the plumb line. So just making sure that these alignments, the belly button actually falls just on the left side. So I've got it in a good place. And the center line of the body is curving. It's curving with the compression side, with that bow on the expansion side. I'm just going to take another head measure and just check. His hips will be a head's length across. So I'll bring this side in a little bit. Bring it in. That's going to help move the foot over as well. I feel like he's stretching. When I first drew the gesture, I think the head was a little bit bigger in my mind, in my mind's eye. And so, you know, it looks almost like he's got a can of Coke up there. It doesn't look like he's smashing him with a rock. This would be a great Coca-Cola ad. Snake's got your tongue? Smash it in the head with a Coca-Cola. So his brow line lines up, and if I look, oh, his head length is not equal to his head width, which would be the normal rule. His head is much longer and skinnier. Maybe it's his haircut. Than its length. He also has a beard, so wow, that's quite a bit different. That could be making up for why I have that lateral space so far off. So now I don't know, I've just turned into like art puzzle scientist here, and I just start breaking things down. I will leave some things ambiguous still. Because everything has to come together at the same time. If I just spent 20 minutes right here, I'd be suffering somewhere down here for sure in the long run. And I keep softening it. I'm getting pretty caught up in this area, and so I need to simplify it. I need to start moving down. So by softening the strokes, it helps me not get stuck and gouged in. So across this area, he is one head width. So I'm willing to bet, if I just measure across a head length, just looking for places where I can find where things are going on my visual. So if I take a head length and drop it straight down, okay, that's still good. Let's see how wide he is. The head length goes across from here to here along that angle. So I made him a little bit thinner, but I'm trying not to lose that curvature. That would be detrimental to having this expression, that gesture. But he is getting thinner, which makes his shoulders and pec look a lot wider, which is what we want. And there's a lat in shadow there. Very nice. Okay. Let's see how we can mess up this arm now. His trap comes down. We have our achromium process. You know, actually this arm so far looks pretty good. It's a lot in shadow, especially on this side. What might be the problem is that the wrist should line up to the forehead. So I should curl this arm under him a little bit more. We'll go like that. And now I'll check some lengths. Head measure, achromium process to pit. So look, achromium process to pit. So I would put the pit right there. Then I triangulate off of it. So where the groin is where the pit is. Okay, that's actually fairly close. Check twice, wait, measure twice, cut once. So I'm gonna go from the pit of the arm right down to the bottom of the wrist, and that's a head length. Pit of the arm. So his wrist and arm should end higher up and sooner. Maybe because I'm working at an angle and it's further down the paper, these parts are getting longer as I go. That's a common problem for me. We find the problems, we learn to solve them. So that's where his hand ought to be. And I'm just gonna look in terms of his nose and brow. That's where it starts curling up. I've got Popeye forearms on this guy right now, which makes his arm look shorter. So if I just thin it, it will appear a little bit longer, right? These are just the relationships. All drawing is, because it's two-dimensional, is vertical, horizontal measurements, length or height and width. And so if something's looking a little fat, it could be just the relationship that you need to fix. In this case, maybe I'm making all his arms a little too long. I'm gonna take one more measure and just see if that's going on. So this length from here to here is equal to this length. So his top arm, a little too long. We'll get back to that guy. I'm going to take a measure of the head from the top of the groin. Nope, that's not a good one. Maybe I'll drop his hand a little bit lower. This is essentially what I'm saying is a slower version of my thought process while I'm drawing, which out loud sounds kind of boring. But there's a lot of things I don't need to ask myself. You know, I'm asking out loud to clarify what you might be seeing. In fact, I need to check how we're doing. It looks like I'm falling out of the screen a little bit. I apologize in advance. I will, okay. Pretty good. A little more contained, a little more constrained. If you look on the internet for a similar picture, you will find many because of where you can stand in the gallery. This is going up some stairs as you're turning. So I'm standing as far back as I can be, but while still remaining in view of the sculpture. And so if you look up this name of this sculpture at the Louvre, you will see similar photos, different lighting situations. Maybe that will help inform you because we aren't able to circle around, check the back of this guy. You know, all angles of the sculpture look amazing. There's a really nice one on Pinterest with some depth of field where everything in the background is blurry. But I wanted to tell this, you know, big triangular story here. Story. I gotta listen to my own podcast because I think that's what we were talking about. Truth be told, I don't remember anything I said in that podcast. So don't hold me to it as if it's fresh material. I was really thinking it'd be nice to have a podcast, talk to some artists here. So I've got this microphone now, which is awesome. It seems to be working. Leah and some other people have told me that it sounds good right now. So I'm glad I invested in this equipment for you guys. Don't want to do a hack job here. Okay, so straight across the hand is the knee. So I've moved the whole leg up. I'm gonna take a measurement to see. The leg is coming towards, but I don't want to lose, so that would be the top of the patella. I don't want to lose things. You know, maybe you shift one thing, you shift something else, and then you're just nowhere near where you're supposed to be. I don't want to lose the overall, but I want to see. So I'm going to take a head measurement and then move down from that fold is one head. Look at that. That knee can totally go there. And vertically, it's at the back of the neck. So right there. So I just make like a little X, and then I know where I am. Sorry, just a second. I can't see if that's on the screen or not. There is a delay by 20 seconds in this video, so let me just move this up a little bit. Okay, so we start moving the leg down. I can drop a plumb line and that will go to the heel. So he's gonna get a little shorter in my drawing now. I didn't measure in the beginning, right? I just was drawing shapes and trying to get a feel for it. Just one way of working, right? There's no right way or wrong way. I teach so many different ways, and you know what? Half the time I'm guessing myself. But in training, your guesses get better. That's the goal. We get more accurate. If I took his head measurement from his groin, head measurement from his groin, I get the bottom of the knee. Now that's a little too long of a patella, quite frankly, which might mean that the groin has to move up. But I get 1, 2, 2 heads, 1, 2, that, oh my gosh, that's the top of his foot. So I was way out to lunch. I made him 1 head taller almost. So glad checked. If you are doing long pose and you start in with the measuring, you lose the gesture. So by drawing the shapes, I remain the gesture, but there might be some, God, that looks so weird. There might be some losses along the way. So let me just measure again. Okay. Wow. Well, we know from our Loomis that the length of the tibia and fibula is the length of the head, so gotta go with it here. It's a nice dark shape though. The toes and the foot, which is a head length long, the heel starts from below here. So this is where the heel is. And it's a head length long, bringing my foot to here. All right, so that gives me the opportunity to imagine a line up, and that line is the fold of the wrist. And so I think I've got to shift my foot over, still take that head length. Geez, it's still not quite lining up. His toe is directly below that fold. That fold is directly below the brow. Something's up here, bunny. Maybe the problem is where the knee is. The knee is directly below the armpit. Slide the knee over. This is a puzzling. I don't know, are there other artists out there who do it this way? You guys just like puzzling through, finding relationships of shapes. We'll be talking about simple shapes in the next section here. There we go. Well, that looks much better already. And then toes. Okay. You know what? I don't hate it. Step by step. Step by step. Maybe the patella is a little bit longer. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to curve and feel out this leg a little bit more with less straight lines. I tend to favor straight lines at first, building a structure. The very first might be very curved, but I'm losing a little bit of the oomph by squaring things out so early on. It's hard for me to see this side of the leg. I don't know if it's the brightness of the screen or what. Let me just brighten my image a little bit. And then, yeah, I can't see much here. I know what it's doing though. Comes in, Achilles tendon, shoot the heel back. Probably at a greater angle as well. Okay, 2.5 minutes. Let's get the other leg in, and then I'll probably take my kneadable eraser and just roll over and soften some things, and I'll start to build off that. I'm going to take a measurement between the knees as well, because really the knees should be in alignment. So having a patella down here just doesn't work now. I could also use an inner leg measurement or something. Let's see. Okay, so from the head length, from the groin across, that gives me the kneecap, which if I run straight across, correct, right? So I'm kind of triangulating. There I go. So man, the gesture was off. I'm tightening it up a little bit. What about the space between the legs? The length from here to here is equal to this hip. Right, if I drew a straight line down the hip. If you're following along, hopefully you're just observing some of these occurrences. Let me take a head length off the hip. 1, 2, 3 for the whole foot. 1, 2, 3 for the whole foot. And if I go across the feet, like this, okay, fairly close. So I might just not have had the angle right down here. Of where that knee is. This leg has been a problem this whole drawing. I don't know what's up with that. It's the main pushing off leg. Calf, ankle. We'll just pull it in a little bit. I'm going to take a measure of it as well. It's longer than a head. So maybe the ankle's way further back. He is standing on the snake's tail as well. When we have models back in here, I think we should get a guy, I know a guy who owns a pet store. Maybe we should get some real snakes in here. Sounds like a good idea when I say it. 5 seconds. Oh my gosh, bunny. If you're following along, now's a nice time for a little 5-minute break. We're a little bit behind schedule. So usually it happens on the hour and the half hour. So I'm about 5 minutes behind right now. But we'll take a 5-minute break. Uh-oh. Okay, thanks for the info. Leah is texting me to tell me that I can't see you. Sorry, guys. It's either I look at the picture or I look at the camera. I will adjust accordingly so that you can see the work I'm doing down here. Not much has gone on, and I might just have to move the camera here. I don't want you guys to be missing out on what I'm talking about. Right, Leah? I gotta like put my phone here so I can see your messages as they come through, which is, there's a 20-second delay on the video, so I don't see it till after anyhow. Okay. Bunny. Looks like a G.I. Joe right now. Let's take another shot though for the old Insta-blam. adjust this angle. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can't adjust this camera a little bit. Ah! No! Hey! Oh shit. What did that do? How about maybe like that? Okay. You know what? I think that foot is just too far out. I think it should be in more. I think that's the problem. So much for the break. I'm being like, Keith Sprigall and not taking a break. Keith, if you're out there, take a break for 30 seconds to heat up some tea, crack a beer, turn the lights back on in the studio. You guys won't be able to see that because the camera compensates. There we go. Looking like I want to get into the good stuff in this round here. Minute and a half left. Yeah, his leg is just being too floaty in ballet in my drawing. It's gonna come down. Hey, concurrent viewers. Thanks for joining me. I'm finally looking up at the computer screen. At the end, I'll move the camera up, and then you guys can see this insane setup and maybe be sad about this big, empty art school. But the setup's pretty cool, and that's why I want to keep it going. If we can't have a safe distancing protocol, which I'm working on figuring that out now. Whoa! 25 minutes. So Leah is helping me out by watching and sending me texts, but my phone is almost dead. What? See, I can't, it's too many confusing things all at once. Okay, but I'll check. Thanks, Leah, for continuing to check. There is a huge delay on what I'm seeing and what's happening, but the most important thing is this freaking drawing. So let's do this thing. I want to start, 25 minutes. Pontomoro timing. Wow, the camera's like right over my head. You can see. Do I have a bald spot going on? Not yet. It's all in the front going back. So in the future, I'll have to become Jewish so I can wear a cool hat. And maybe I'll get a mouth or an eyeball on it. So whenever I lean into the scene, you see a scary monster facing back. That's another great idea. So I'm losing something on this leg. It's driving me crazy. This leg is being problematic. This is what happens when you get rusty. So I'm bringing it in. It's too floaty. If I run my pencil straight across from the heel, that's where his toe should be. And so something happened there where this leg started lifting as if he's like falling over. And that could have been just that measurement I took, but it wasn't on the right angle. And so you look at how much more distance that appears to be. So back to the gesture. I'm just gonna take the angle from his armpit to his foot, and I'm just gonna copy it. If I had like a card or a book or something, I could line it up outside and I could see, well, you know, you're cutting out, you're overemphasizing the cutout of the shape. And that's a really good tool that you guys can use if you're having an issue like I'm having today. It's almost like I've never drawn. It feels awkward, and that's okay. I'm also really tired, hence the tea. I honestly wish I could do this every single night, but man, I wouldn't be able to watch Hannibal. Anyone else watching that Hannibal out there? So good. And I'm hoping to get in a little more Hannibal this week. We'll see. It all depends on what I can accomplish. Okay, so, and the quad comes down. There we go. I'm getting there now. Hopefully you guys can see this on the screen. I'm trying to lean back and have my head in at the same time. Oh man, what did I say his foot was? Right there. So his foot's longer than the head. Yeah, that puts the heel about where I had it originally before I went and changed everything. Great. Go with your gut instinct. And that goes back to that first point, talking about the Picasso. You know, that freeing feeling, figuring out, like we're feeling it out. We're not making propaganda, so to speak. We're making art, and art has a lot to do with intuition and feeling it around, and also our process. It's not just, you know, knowledge base. We're trying to discover the beauty. We can see it, but you know, this moment that this sculptor made never ever existed. Checking Leah as I go. What does she say? Oh, it looks great now. Thank you. The shot. I assume you're talking about the shot, not the drawing. The drawing will come. I feel very slow right now. Normally I would have all this done at this part of the session, but I don't know. Slowing down in my old age. Maybe I'll talk less now too. The calf muscle here, the gastrocnemius, the soleus, should be coming lower. I could probably shoot it across to know, because the kneecap usually tends to be fairly close in alignment. Like, it's a scissoring action, but oh my god. Okay, last night I went to my best friend's. Another friend of ours who we've known for 20 years is turning 40, so we had to film a video. So all this equipment was there. And it turns out, and if you've ever taken a class with me, you'll know this is true. Everything I said, his wife could say, that's what she said after. That's what she said. And I don't mean it to be like that. I don't know what's going on. But it turns out to be true. I say so many things that can be misconstrued and turned into a Full House joke. Not that Danny Tanner isn't my hero. Don't get me confused here. But it is pretty funny. Especially because it's either in a podcast or maybe in this recording. Okay. So let's get the snake's body in here. We can get away with a lot more with the snake. It's curling and turning. I'm gonna try to get it fairly close. The vastus internus right here, which then you have your strap muscle coming across the sartorius, is where if I drop straight down, I'm starting to see the bend of this side of the snake. So I'm using the anatomy of him to figure out the anatomy of basically this weird tube. It's a weird tube. From the back, shooting across the patella, from the back is where the bottom of the snake body is. So it's going to go like this. And because the body moved, right, he became shorter. My initial snake is not correct. The neck is here. So this moves up. The hand has moved up that distance. The neck has moved up that distance. There we go. We'll see. He might be getting a little bit thin here as well. We'll see. Not as worried about the snake. I don't know that in this session that I'm gonna draw all of the snake's scales. I don't think I'll have time for that. But okay, check again. 713. Maybe. Once this thing gets in here, it might be okay. It's a little triangle behind the leg of light. I believe this is tree here. And it looks like it's like fabric draped over the snake's body. I actually don't know what's going on here. But it doesn't matter because we want to think abstract shapes. From the top of the foot, there's a nice curve. Kind of like an S curve comes around. And then to wherever I've determined the ankle to be, it's curving up. So maybe it's a little bit wider, like that. All right, that's good because now that the snake is a little bit skinnier, I think I made him a little too fat in the beginning. It's that horizontal measurements. Oh, I see now what's going on. So underneath the snake and foot, wow. There is a dark shape, and it looks like a lion's robe. So Hercules, being the champ that he is, it's probably part of his cloak. And also, what is it, like the golden fleece kind of idea. Part of the mythology of which I know nothing about. Classically trained for a little bit in art, but not trained in the classics, which is why I got the library card. Hey, segue. And you can take free courses. You can also use Canopy, K-A-N-O-P-Y, which is the online Netflix kind of thing. And they have the courses, the great teaching, or great courses, whatever it's called. Anyways, I downloaded, actually this one was from Audible, the Great Mythologies of the World. And it's 33 days of lessons. I'm still way back in Byzantine times, learning about the Anunnaki. I haven't even got to the Greeks yet. If you remember in grade school, they kind of did it in order. And then when you learn about Egypt, and you just move through time that way. So here I got general, I don't know. This kind of looks like the shape. It's nice to actually do more abstract things. It's very dark in this area, so this will end up just being a shadow shape. So no need to waste any more time there. But I guess that's his cloak, his robe, his cape. So before he fought this snake, he decided it would be a great idea to take his clothes off. As you do. when fighting a snake. Oh God, that's what she said. Exactly. I hear ya. You're out there. Okay. Shortly, I'll be on these shadow shapes. This is where the tree post is. I mean, it's a little weird. I know it's there for structure, but compositionally, it's a little too far up his ass. I mean, how do they make these decisions? It's like, well, he's a great fighter and god, but he needs a tree up his ass to hold himself up. Okay. Is that even... Can you say that on YouTube? Am I gonna get cut off again? Okay. Snake's almost in. All this is dark. I don't know what it is. And I'll commit to finishing off this hand now. I don't know what's going on here. So, I'm just going to... Okay, thanks. Just going to take a little piece of gum. Actually, it's not gum. It is. Yeah, you know what? I like where this is going. I still haven't committed to this hand. I don't know what's up with that. But I'm just going to roll it into like a cylinder. And I'm just going to roll over my drawing and take down anything that's too apparent. And the reason why I'm not using the whole piece of kneadable eraser is because the amount that I'm rubbing off may ruin it. And I don't want a big dirty eraser. I want to have clean parts to work with. Also, keep this cool. I store it on my cola, and that keeps it more firm because it does get really soft and gummy and sticky and not really what we want to do. Our next goal, I'm not going to refine the outer shapes. I'm going to start drawing the difference between what is light and what is dark. Sorry for the head there. So I don't want to have any commitment here because these abstracted shapes of what's light and what's dark. All right, I'm going a little firmer. This is the, I'm just to get some of the areas, just pulling it, knocking it down, I guess we'll call this. Just knocking it down. I'm gonna draw the shadow shapes. There's a lot of them. The light is coming from above in this side, so I'm really gonna have to squint down and simplify and figure out how to design this in such a way that looks interesting and also to bring light in more where I can't see, I guess. I have to use some of my anatomy knowledge. The cool thing is, oh, I gotta change an angle of his face. I might start here with the head now. Put a little bit of time into this Roman nose, almost Roman nose. I guess it's Greek. Wait, it's her? I actually don't even know. What is a Greek? You know, you have Athena, Venus. You know, you have the same things, Greek and Roman. Romans just copied them and changed them up a little bit. But I want to get this nice, strong, sorry if I'm bouncing in there. I got to get close to draw this face. They used to connect, not have a glabella in this kind of antiquity. They would soften out the fold of the brow. They also intensified, you know, the sexy lines here. They would put them deeper, and then on the back they would emphasize the triangle shape. So, you know, it's like taking out ribs, the idealization of beauty for the time that they're in. Have different techniques. Whoa, sorry, getting too close again. I'll figure this casting out one of these days. All right, so most of the face is in shadow. In fact, it's quite dark. I can see his beard. I can see his ear. But I'm going to just simplify it all. His neck's coming down. And the neck pit is down below the chin. We kind of pull a triangle down right there. So that's where the chest is actually coming from, and then the clavicle. So that's important because from behind the ear down is where one of our shadows begins of the sternocleidomastoid. So I'll get that in. There's light on the back of the head. So we'll bring the hair up, and that helps me see where the neck is. Okay, now I can start building some proper shapes. The neck bends to the trap, and there's a divot that travels down and across. So this is the, see this V, and kind of like a bicycle handle structure of the neck pit and clavicle going across to where the deltoid touches in, and right in there is one of our landmarks, the acromion process, where we might count from the shoulders. Okay, so then the chest comes down, and I already have a marker to where I think the sternum is. We've got, hey Morat, sorry the lights are going down in here, it's like I'm talking to a ghost. We can draw the shape of where the pec is. All of this is going to be in shadow. I'm pretty sure almost all of this there'll be like the odd little triangle of striation where the light is picking up on the origin of the pectoral muscle. So just simplifying shapes. And if you have ever done the barb drawing, this is a pretty similar process to how the old masters may or may not have learned. We don't actually know for sure. But how to do copies. If you're looking for something to do this summer, do a copy. I think you should do about 2 to 4 copies a year because, and this might get a little morbid, you're gonna die, but there's so much great art and so many things you can learn. So you got to find what's pertinent information to you at this time in order to increase your craft. And the best way is to learn the master's hand, I think. So we've got some more structure here. We can do a light separation between the rectus abdominis. It's stretching up though, and the thoracic arch is going across. There's a lot of definition up here with the serratus and whatnot. I'm going to leave the light side. We're just trying to get some indication of where things are on the dark side right now. It's got a little bit of a belly, and from there's always a line that goes across the belly button in terms of the fold. There's 4 above, and then it's inclusive 1, and then below you have this like bottle shape. I'm gonna take a measure. So the head to the belly button to the head is the same length. I'm gonna move the testicle over a little bit. God, I sound like the kind of doctor you'd hear on Botched. I'm gonna move the testicle over, and we'll draw the simple catching of light and dark. There is carved pubic hair here. So I'm not getting as far as I want. There's only 5 minutes left in this session, but you can see that I'm really starting to pick things out and find where muscle groupings are, get in a little bit more anatomy. And I'm using that by understanding some of these shadow shapes. This is all in shadow. That's all I think I'm gonna get to, I think, in this session. Like, it's 7 something already. 7:30. Okay, we're halfway. So maybe, you know, I don't know if I have faith in myself right now. If we're gonna make it or not. But I'm gonna try to find these muscles up here. Definitely we can find the nipple right here. So we know where that is at least. I'm triangulating it off. I can't see the nipple on this side, but it would be around here. On the turn of the form. The lats. Oh yes. Just deep shadow. That's going to be all dark here. And then you have rim light along this arm. So instead of rim lighting it, because I don't have background, so the only reason I can see the tricep here is because of the light dark light pattern. So I'm just going to draw it in as a dark. Don't have the benefit of having time to put in a background. So train your eye to see these things. So in this case, a nice edge. Now all of this is going to be dark. So I need to find on this side, where does that come down? So there is a shape, a long kind of triangular shape, which pokes across. And his, looks like the neck coming from the chin, it goes across. So there is a little bit of a highlight here. But there is like a triangular shape of dark, this divot, this flexion between the connection here. This muscle going across is the pec, and it attaches to the humerus, right? There's a little bit of a fold in it just because of the way his arm is turned. And so the clavicle is right here, and then the deltoid is up here. So there's a flexion point between the deltoid, which is sitting over the shoulder, and the pec, which is going under it and into the arm. It attaches to the humerus at the top. So that's what we're seeing there. This can come down a little bit more. One way to really learn anatomy would be, I think, to do an écorché. And for years, I've wanted to do one. I've never done one. An écorché is when you do like the flayed model. There was not a lot of figurative art where I went to school. It's not cool even today, probably. So that brings my deltoid up a little bit. I'm just drawing shadow shapes. I'm not looking at contour. It drops nearly straight down along the inside of the arm and then kind of underneath here. So this is all shadow. So these are the, just so you get an idea of why I'm drawing the bed bug line where I am. I'm just finding out where the lights and darks are going. Just simple shapes. I'm forgetting a little bit about anatomy and just thinking about where's light hitting, because that's what gives you the idea of form. So 5 seconds, we'll take a break. I might readjust this camera. We'll see. So strangely enough, I don't know how that happened, but it's 7:30. So we're still 5 minutes behind being perfect Virgo timing. But I'd say that's pretty good. Robin, you're here. Hello. I love that you guys are using the chat on the YouTube because I can see you guys. I appreciate it, knowing what's going on here. I might have to adjust this camera again. I feel like we're losing some of the bottom area. So if I, oh my God. Ah! Okay, okay. I am gonna lean it up. You can see my mess. You can see I'm plugging the studio back here. There's a skull, and it says Atelier Artista. I'm gonna move the skull a little bit in. That's really far away on an angle. There's the skull. This cable is close. This comes from the microphone I'm using these days. Little H5 recorder to trick the computer. All right, we'll take another screenshot. I hope Keith is out there. I see Jeff, Robin, shout out, Indigo Arts. Hello, Holly, Leah Russell at Magpie Cove. And according to the numbers, there's more. You guys are just being quiet out there. Maybe you're just listening from a distance away. Maybe you're dangerously driving with your YouTube on your phone. I don't know. Maybe you're watching this after the fact. But I hope you guys like the idea of working from these sculptures for a little while. I have so many great photos. Maybe I'll put them in a package and you can just download them all at once. It's going to take me a little while to edit them. This obviously is not the best for lighting, but the white marble sculpture ones are fantastic, and they will make drawing a lot easier because we'll see all the tones that we need to. I am inching along here. It's so slow. I haven't even touched this bubbly yet. Heat up this cold tea again. Oh. Alright, Miss Leah, I gotta put my phone away. It's almost dead. So, we're winging it, guys. We don't have a feedback loop here. And it occurred to me that I haven't eaten dinner yet. Stupid. Tea's hot. An hour and a half left. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll turn this into an ink drawing. Who knows? Who knows? I can touch this camera to my head. It's like right over me. Just gonna sharpen a little bit. Got 40 seconds. There you go. ASMR. Last night, I had lucid dreams. They were so vivid, but they were a little bit out of character for me. I dreamt that I went into one of these weed stores and I was trying to find the perfect pipe. Okay, sorry, Pontamora, 25 minutes. But what was strange, other than the fact that I don't have a pipe or need a pipe, was that I was holding them and I thought they were real and I thought I was awake. It was incredibly realistic. And what I wanted was a clear glass one with like little wavy lines, kind of like the snake. And it had a bubbler, like a bong or something, a bubbler in it. It's very strange that it was just so realistic. You know, maybe it had to do with the rainfall. I had my window open last night to hear the lovely sounds of the rain. It helps me sleep. I'm a BC boy at heart, and I do love it. But so maybe people in BC smoke a lot of weed. I don't know why it was so vivid. Maybe I should go to the store and buy a pipe. That's the lesson here. So when I squint my eyes, these layout pencils are very black graphite. I think I'm going to change over to charcoal. This paper has a lot of tooth in it, and as you can see, as soon as I do this, it will help you guys see probably a little bit better. I should be using smoother paper, really, for the style of drawing that I'm doing right now, but didn't know what was happening. I didn't know. So just charcoal for the shading. Let's kind of end it off here. Move down the leg here. The turning around, bicep femoris. We're on the lateral, what is that? Anterior, posterior, lateral. Yeah, we don't need to know all the views here. You know what else? I might hop up to that hand. All of this is a dark shape. He's got this like, it's a Coke can. It's not a, and the angle is deeper. It's not a rock, it's a Coke can. It's very round for, maybe he's not smashing him with a rock. And there's light there. Being cylindrical, there's a fat core shadow. I mean, that could be true. There could be something else he's smashing him with. I can pull up the, oh yeah, we're not doing like a long break here. We already passed the halfway point. Just to be clear, if you need a break, take a break. Because there's no socializing going on inside the studio. Buy the pipe. Oh, Jeff, I will buy the pipe. I will. Fine. If it exists. I wonder if I can smoke. No, you can't smoke in the studio. I'm allowed to grow plants. Should I push my luck? Should I push my luck? There is a lot of talk going on right now about what's going to happen here at C-Space. There are some places that are kind of open. They are, there's some camps going on. You know, had I not canceled my camps, I'd have kids in here right now too. But the Frenchies, they're having their camps, and the drama kids, they're having their camps. But I canceled mine, so it's a little late now to try to recapture these things. For me, at least, I had just finished giving out refunds. That's a sad day. Giving back the money that you need to pay rent. But yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. I have had a Taoist upbringing, so one of the sayings is SHIT happens, you know. Just be glad you're not royalty right now. because that same SHIT is going to hit the fan. Not being political, sorry. Okay, this whole inside of the arm, there's a little rim light. This is going to be in shadow, right? We're simplifying. We can add our knowledge of where the tricep and where that bicep is folding later. What? I never, oh, that must be Facebook making that sound. Guys, I don't use Facebook. I mean, I go on there periodically and then I'm like, why am I even on here? Melissa set up the Facebook so that, you know, there could be like a, I don't know if it's a group or a fan page. Stop it. Okay, sorry, I gotta delete that. I don't like the sound of it. Who comes up with these sounds? And, oh, hey Clem, and good night Facebook. Don't ever come back. I guess I could probably broadcast this to Facebook too. I don't know. Buy the vape. That's the wisdom of the ages. You can always erase out of these shadows, right? Always erase. Let's go down the body. So the simplification, if you squint your eyes, is under this nice thoracic arch. This is all dark, right? I mean, it gets darker as it goes, as a gradient. But for now, we just define it as a dark. It might look a little bit like a Banksy at first. You know, I'm gonna flatten these darks even further. Sorry, I'll lean back. And of course, darken further as well. You gotta build the darks up over time. Layer them lovingly. So there's a separation in the rectus femoris. We got going across here. From this area down to and around is the sartorius and the vastus internus on the inside. It's kind of a teardrop shape, so I'm just going to simplify it to be kind of a teardrop shape. Maybe a little bit bigger. I think I made my patella too wide. Should be like this. And so we have a lot of shadow here. This can come up. We have a lot of shadow here. And then it curves and we've got the nice hang. The back of the hamstring of the rectus femoris. If I was 14 years old still, which in some sense I am, I'd be laughing. Rectus femoris. Rectus, he has a name, you know, it's a Monty Python skit waiting to happen. So there's that separation on the top of the muscles there. The vastus externus curling over, tensor fasciae latae just happening right there. Maybe we'll see a little bit more of it on this side, but there is a shadow pattern coming up and across, separating those muscles. And this sculptor has captured that nicely. There's also a shadow up here. So the leg comes up and down. So you can see I'm transitioning sometimes the way I'm holding the pencil. It looks spotty right now. Can just grab Tortillon and just soften it down. This is quite a gritty little paper, but we're just trying to get a material on top. And we can just keep building. We're not even talking edges here, right? So first is shape. You know, in the hierarchy of importance, did I get the shapes right? Is the arm shape correct? Is the ball shape correct? Shape is made up of a few things. So we have gesture, right, which tells the story of a shape. We have the fact that it has a length and a height, or a width and a height, sorry, whatever. Width maybe is depth, I don't know. But all shapes and their relationships have these principles. And so shape has perspective built into it. Shape has proportion built into it. See what I'm getting at? So we had a man and he was drawn. Next step now is value. So right now I'm making just a 2-value drawing. There's no turning of the form value. There's no halftones. It's light or it's dark. But that's what starts to give you the roundness of the form. Guys, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, so I'm going to shut up. But anyways, I'm just going through the steps, not just in his construction, but also in the order of importance. Because with each step, you know, if I didn't finish it, it's like, well, there's a guy drawn there and a snake, kind of. And so I might not have time for value. You know, I might not have time for rendering. But I'm getting information down in the importance and the steps that I need. You know, you can just render one area, and to the common viewer, if you render that whole area out, their brain will fill in the fact that, oh wow, the rest is rendered in really nicely as well. You will look to the areas of focus, right? Or you'll focus on the areas with the greatest detail, you know? First, kind of like a camera, we'll look at the areas of the greatest contrast, which might be, you know, the detail of the face. Being human, we kind of want the face anyhow. It helps us identify the person, right? We're information creatures. We're looking for reason. You know, who was this guy killing the snake? I just lost a little bit of the face there when I rubbed it. Back and forth. It's a dance. So hopefully I can block in this leg at least. Now, when I squint my eyes, I do read this all as dark. But for the sake of explaining some things, we're going to just pretend the light is more balanced. Otherwise, this is all kind of just too dark. I can, instead of making this all dark, I'm going to separate the muscles the same way on the sides. So the quad on the top, what catches the light is the patella. It's sticking out of the leg, right? Underneath it's for sure is going to be dark. But I'm going to keep that light. There's that same line going across. You know, we have the vastus on this side, kind of that teardrop shape. You might be able to see it. You can play too with the settings a little bit of the, you know, in Photoshop or what have you, lighten and darken it. His skin, obviously it's bronze, so he's dark, green and blues, but you can play with the information that we have. Like I said, in the future, I will be a little bit smarter. I always say that. I'm going to be a little bit smarter in the future. But I do have lovely photos from Musée d'Orsay, from Italy, of white marble sculpture. And so that might be a really nice way to do some, not just anatomical studies, but also to help us work on values while we're apart. It's going to make it a lot easier. This guy, he's already dark in value. So from the bottom of the patella at the tibia tuberosity, I'm just going to make a slightly curved line. So I'm going to darken this whole side. So I'm pretending that there's more light here than there is. This will be a dark, but I'm showing the separation as if the light is more equal. It's more from above, but this all becomes very dark down here. But just to show you, you know, this whole foot can just be dark. Some of the structure right? So then we can figure out, okay, the knee, you know, kind of bubbles out like a grumpy old man's face here. I do love drawing knees. I still think Michelangelo's are the best. He's got these orange chalk drawings that are just absolutely stunning. If you have problems with drawing knees, that's where you want to go. So there is a little bit more shadow there. Of course, this is all dark, but just use my finger now to soften it out. But for the point of our study, we're going to separate the muscles a little bit. You know, you got to have a thick skin to be an artist. You guys know this already, but it's hard to, you know, be fair to yourself and admit where your weaknesses are. Part of these practices that we're doing, these weekly drawings, is to help us learn, but along the way, discover what we can help ourselves learn on our own time. God, that was wordy. But, you know, I know where I continue to have my problems, like making the legs too thick, especially at the ankle. And so we've got to find a source of knowing that and being like, you know what, I'm always doing this. So you have to wrestle against it. I didn't start out even being able to draw a leg, you know? I didn't start out being able to walk. And we have to learn along the way. We tend to be really hard on ourselves anyhow. So that's not what I'm saying we should be doing. But when we don't have our friends to tell us right now what we can work on, or we can't see, you know, you don't know what you don't know, this is starting to look okay. We got to figure out how. So even when I was putting these drawings up to this beside the screen to figure out proportion, that's only one problem in drawing. It did help. It's just a brutal way to do it. You can't lie to yourself, and I think a lot of artists, they try to lie. Hashtag contemporary artist. And art doesn't let you hide what you don't know. It's pretty obvious to those who can see. That being said too, I take a lot of criticisms for my drawings from people, not you guys actually, strangely enough, but from people who think they know and they just want to give you shit. And you also have to look at who it's coming from. If they actually have the knowledge you want, or if they can do what you're trying to do, I mean, fair enough, a lot of people can see, and maybe they can tell you, well, you know what's wrong, the nose, and grain of salt that bad boy. The nose is wrong, but that's not as constructive as an artist being able to tell you why, and maybe how to learn from that. Maybe they've gone through the same thing. You know, it takes a long time to do the things we're doing. No one was born inherently with the abilities of master artists. I'm sorry, there are some savants, I guess. There's that one guy who can memorize that New York skyline or whatever. But I don't know what the story is, if it's autism or if he's working from photo or whatever. Still pretty freaking cool. But the rest of us can learn it. You know, you don't have to be a superhero here. Although it would be neat to be a superhero, and your superhero would be... Whoa! My head, sorry. And I'm out. Takes 30 seconds for me to notice this crap. My phone's almost dead, but Leah's telling me. Uh-huh. Thank you. The ball shape is correct. You're right. Wait, how would you know? Just for you, Leah, I'm going to work on the ball shape a little more. So I've got 4 minutes. I'm gonna just try to get his hand in. Maybe a little bit of the snake. The snack. Who was saying that the other day? It's so annoying. Hand shadow. You know, it's like a bit of a Banksy here. Maybe in the same amount of time you guys get to full render. I'm just slow and steady today. Slow and steady. Maybe it's about accuracy for me today. I don't know. So all of this triangle of the foot. Oh, head again. Damn it. I changed the camera angle and it's catching my head a little bit more now. It's right over me. I think what I really need to do, it's not the position of the camera, it's the lens. I need a little bit of a wider angle lens maybe, or definitely a lighter lens. This lens is quite heavy and it's right over my head, so I'm just waiting for me to say something stupid and karma whapping me on top. Three cheers for karma. Okay, top of the foot. You know, if I get a good enough drawing here in this time, I could trace it, I could transfer it, I could try some of the, try to break out some of the pastels again. I like to square off the top of the quad. It's nice because we have long curvy lines and then square angular lines. The thing that I think art is explaining, or I mean, I don't mean to be an oversimplification here, but what we find interesting is contrast, you know? Light, dark, soft, hard, thick, thin, bright, dark, straight, curved. And these are kind of the things that I look for in creating a good still life. You know, bright red cherries, shiny and wet, a rock, you know, dull, gritty, tall, skinny wine bottle, short, fat fruit. Because contrast and comparing those things beside each other create visual interest. It's kind of dancing for your eyes. If everything's linear and the same, it tends to be very boring, which could very well be your point. I don't want to make boring art. I want to make interesting art. And what humans find interesting, I think, is variety. You know, something shiny and metallic, something glass, maybe something made out of brick. Okay, there's striations here. So I'm just rubbing the, I'm not accurately drawing this. I'm just rubbing my pencil back and forth using the side to create the illusion quickly of what I think is probably not bark, but it's probably fungi. I'm a fun guy. I'll draw some fun guy. And I'm squinting my eyes, and all of this reads as dark. So that's what I'll do. He's like pooping a log here. Now it only goes up to here, so this is the bedbug line that I draw. Oh Lord, what did I say or do? Angle head, so what? Angle of the horse. Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. Everybody, my assistant. Okay. So, it's 8. We're going to have exactly 2 more sessions. So, I will be able to probably draw some scales in. This is exciting. I don't know. I'll try to do the 5 minutes. I'm sorry if that's really loud because it's right by the mic. I'm glad you guys are still joining me and that this is somewhat interesting and you You're having your time listening to my voice. I'm liking this drawing at this point. I don't hate it now. So I would say a win, and after this point, we'll wreck it as much as we can. Maybe not as much. All right, take a break. If you haven't, take a pee. That's a good idea. That's what I'm gonna do. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Oh, so I gotta angle the donkey. Or maybe it's the camera's wonky. Now that I keep twisting it. There we go. Tilt it up a little bit more. Sorry guys, do my best. Thanks, Jeff. Flat values. It's fun, all right. Jeez, so just for does look like a turd coming out of his butt. I shot the sheriff. Oh, this charger on this phone is crap. I need a new one. Oh my god, 2 minutes. Hi. Pausing time. Must go pee. Got carried away. Sorry guys. Okay, just give me another minute or two. It's a good thing I'm not wearing my hat. Wash your hands if they're dirty like mine were. Oh, sorry. This does not count as work. Just cleaning it up as I go. Oh, I can't wait to draw the snake actually. And I'm gonna put the bubbly back in the fridge because I'm not thirsty for it. Don't stop believing. Okay. And thank you. And goodbye. And well, okay. Man. 1 minute. 1 minute. Where's my phone? All right. This cable that Leah bought me has finally bit the dust. All right, let's do 25 more minutes. I'm feeling a little goofy right now. Okay, come on, phone. I want my phone to keep charging so that I can get home, but all right, who cares about the phone? Let's get drawing the snake again. I mean, it's going well. Maybe it is like riding a bike. A little bit. We'll draw details on top and then we'll put darker darks, maybe before working towards the lights, which is the order that I would recommend drawing anyhow. But you can do whatever you want. What was I using? Charcoal, right? Yeah. Okay, so here I'm doing a quick cheat. Is fur. Oh, now I see what's going on. So this isn't this is part of the lion coming up here. So we'll just draw little horizontal like hairlines. That's supposed to be fur. You know, if you want to learn to draw hair or fur, the best thing to do, learn from sculptors. Like, how did they, not having spaghetti extrusion hair, how did they explain it? Use the knowledge sculptors had to explain it. Oh man, that'll get you drawing hair pretty darn good. They group them together, right? They group their masses together in such a way that you could make something rock and hard, right? That contrast the softness of fur. It's pretty freaking amazing. Freaking, how Canadian of me. We can always erase out lights too if we find that we went a little too far in some areas. There's a triangle of light underneath the leg. And then the snake's body, this fat little body, comes down. And there's a fold. And so I guess it's not a cape, it's the skin of this lion. All this is dark. One big dark shape. But I did want to put a notation of where it is. There's light here in the fold of the flesh. And really, the shadow of the back of the calf and the calf, it's one shape. It's just dark. So I'm just going to make a lost edge and unify them. That's where a lot of the magic happens for me, I think, where I love lost edges. You don't want to put so many and be ambiguous. Reminds me of bad high school art. Yes, you guys know what I'm talking about. You made it. I made it. You know, when you like Salvador Dali and you're like, ooh, it's a dreamscape. Shut up. It's not a dreamscape. You don't know what you're doing. Am I losing people right now? I told you I'm feeling strange. I think it's because I haven't eaten. Forgot. Oopsies. So I drew in the nose of the lion because it's light. And we can see, I think, what is his nostril. But I'm going to unify all the shadow shapes around. If I put too much detail down here in the line and stuff, rather than looking at this, I'll start to just focus down. Oh, sorry, I hope that's, you can see that information. Yes, yes. Okay, thanks, Leah. The phone is not staying charged. You're drawing me arrows? For Christ's sakes, girl. I'll scoot. Hey guys, that's relationship fighting. Leah is helping me see ya. What you guys see ya. Because I'm looking at the drawing thing. What I'm supposed to be drawing. She's looking at what the screen is doing for me and reminding me. Everyone needs to have someone watching over their shoulders, for sure. You can't do all of this at once, it turns out, by yourself. Which is not what I would want to hear. Okay, all this is dark. There's a shape. I'm assuming it's the eye and the nose. Sorry, my head's in the way. I'm going to get a text about that now, I bet. But squinting my eyes, I'm just going to simplify shapes, angles, and just darken them. I don't need enough information that maybe if someone's looking at this, they'll be like, okay, I get it. That's a lion. Look how long it took me to figure that out. Part of the drawing, you know, I really wish I could go back to Paris right now. That'd be so fun. Is the Louvre even open? I haven't been to St. Petersburg, Russia. So, you know, the Hermitage. But I'm willing to bet that the greatest museum in the world is the Louvre. Hands down. I also tend to like the artists that they have on exhibit there. I liked the galleries in Italy. I like the galleries in Holland. I don't think there was enough in Holland for my liking. Even the ones in Portugal were surprisingly good. I had no idea that, you know, in the 1500s, the Portuguese, I guess these are my people, ruled half the world and had its riches. And so they have great galleries with great collections, though small. That was a long time ago, and I'm sure some of their riches that they took got taken back. No comment on that. So the thumb should be here. Made my thumb a little bit small. By triangulating, you know, using a diagonal, I can fix that. I hope you guys can see this. This is a really weird angle for me to draw right now. If you're watching. Watch me fuck it up. Uh-oh, YouTube, demonetize. I'm not monetized, don't worry. I just want to be broadcast. Maybe I'll eventually have to do it all on the website, I don't know. Okay, body. So ideally I would draw all the little folds going across, showing, I'll give an example, turning and curling. That shows roundness of the form. The sculptor has put little bumps, so to speak, to show the turning. We don't have time for that. We have 16 minutes here to block in this neck. So it curls under and the neck, comes up here. What was I doing? I'm gonna take an angle off my reference, and I'm moving around a lot, but it's more like this. So I said earlier, you know, there's not going to be much more drawing, but there is. I'm fixing the snake. I didn't have to define the snake so much until now. Don't stop believing. All right. So another dark shape here. Dark shape under, showing the fold of the neck going in there. Oh my God, head again. Sorry, this is getting hard. I'm gonna zoom in the camera. Is that, where am I here? And maybe that will help. I'm like leaning back like I'm in a lowrider right now. What can I do so that I can draw closer? Okay, it's not terrible. Not terrible. Okay, we'll see. Anyways, I'm working this head area. I'm gonna do my best to keep my head out while still looking at the snake here. Okay. So I am doing a little bit more drawing than I anticipated, because the snake head is actually closer. I got it really far out here. Closer when I look at the negative space. I gotta bring it in. It's too far away. It's almost close enough to bite him, which creates tension. Okay, you can't see my head here. That's good. There we go. So that gives me kind of the shape of the bottom mouth. And then I'll just move over the lines I had previously drawn. Same angles, you know, that hasn't really changed. And then, you know what, I'll keep the mouth the same. Now, there are spiky teeth here. I might want to include the teeth detail in the drawing as light, because otherwise the snake doesn't look so scary. You know, in terms of the story, sometimes you got to pick some things to emphasize. And I would say that these enormous fangs, holy, they actually reach down to here, would be part of that. Part of the importance of making this frightening battle. So we'll just draw those in as a light, because the inside of the mouth, for the most part, very dark. There's a little bit of light along the ridge of the lips. Okay, my head's not in there. That's all that I care about. All right, then. Got that. Snake's nose. This is light. And the snake has eyes. So right about there. I do not want to make them round, because then he would look happy and nice. Round, soft shapes. It's angles that make him look evil and pissed off. So I'm gonna Make sure that I get the angles in there. It's like a mound behind the back of the head. Maybe his eye should be a little bit bigger. That's okay. I don't know why this snake reminds me of Disney. Too cartoony, maybe? I don't know. Shadow. Sure. We'll call that shadow. I think the eye should be further back. There we go. Further back. It's kind of below. There we go. Good enough for now. Let's get the, oh, sorry, bumped the mic there. Let's get the bottom part in of the snake. So I'm squinting my eyes. I'm following some of the lines, but really, I'm just drawing a simplified version, because if I put too much data in it, you're gonna focus on all the little nuances. In terms of sculpting, which is far different than painting, you have to put the data in. In painting, I would make this quite rough because I want to lead the eye around, right? Looking around to different areas. Because with painting, it's that moment of time frozen. So there's like blurs, and there's things that are not in full focus or that are in your peripheral vision. But a sculptor, if they did that, like it would look all smeary and crummy. And I mean, some sculptors actually do that. But because a person looks around a sculpture and it's three-dimensional, you actually have to put all the detail in. But in the drawing of the sculpture, we do not have to put all the detail in. And it's probably better that you don't. So the bottom is going to look quite abstracted here. Compared. It's enough. I see the snake head. I'm just going to soften down all my values, blend them together a little bit more, trying to get them to be equal. Try to get one value rather than, like, it's dark, not 37 nuances of value, which is too much detail in the shadows. Too much detail. We'll be able to build on this if there's time. Chances are that gonna run out of it here, because the last session I'm gonna do will be a little bit shorter so that we can discuss and compare what went on here. So just 8 minutes left. I'm just going to keep on with my 6B charcoal, putting in my darks and lights. I can see the ridge of this, and then, so this is the snake turning. The ridge, and it comes down dark. All that's dark. There's, if I take my eraser and just put some kind of like horizontal lines here, that's catching the fur. And it, you know, it makes it look like I did a lot more work than I actually did. And I like that. Work smart, not hard. I learned that when I worked for the city of Calgary. Or any union job, same difference. Don't stop believing. Okay, so there's a triangle shape here of light. It's the difference between the snake's body and the snake's body there. And we'll follow that line that I already had defined down there. I hope you guys can see this. And maybe some outside contours. Hopefully, if you're drawing the snake, you're having some fun with the snake right now. We want to get as close as we can, I guess, to it. This gotta look like a snake. From the center here going across, there's this line, this diagonal line. We'll make a curve here, but all of this is dark, all of it. We're so low on the sculpture, and the fall of light is, I'm gonna move this back maybe a little bit. Here, I'll just slide it up. This is a very awkward drawing position for me, but you can see what I'm talking about here. I'm actually working kind of flat. I don't know. This is looking kind of cool. I mean, it already looked cool to begin with. What I mean is what the sculptor did. So it's a little bit hard to make a terrible drawing. Start with something good. Oh, that heel needs to go higher up. Okay. Maybe it's just the angle I'm working at. There we go. This is a small triangle here between the foot and the cast shadow below the sculpture and the snake's body. But we just unify it, just bring it all together. I could see if where I would go now if I had another hour. Maybe I'll finish this, probably not. We're gonna run out of time, but we'll figure out how much leverage we can get out of the time we do have, like where it's important. Sometimes you just got to put a little detail in a couple places. And all this foot is dark. It's actually a slight gradient all the way up. Oh, gotta keep that triangle down there. We'll make a harder edge on the body of the snake here, just so there's kind of an ending. I don't have to do the base or another shadow below it. All right, 4 minutes. I'll get the line bit here, and I might just darken underneath this fold just to give a little bit more dimension here. It's like turning out radially. So I might end up just darkening stuff rather than doing my halftones. Maybe making this look a little bit more illustrative in the end, but we'll just see what we can get out of this, right? Figure drawing is not just studying the body, it's time management. Oh, artists love to hear that kind of talk. It's about learning time management. Unfortunately, that's very true. In fact, we artists get paid so little for our time. You know, we gotta get good and then get fast. I mean, this isn't all true. I'm not trying to bring it down here, but if you were better and quicker, because you love what you do, you would make more money. Unless you're like an abstract artist, then you could just do it in like 5 seconds maybe. Feel the line. Feel the lion. Draw the lion. I think this is like its paw or something. We'll get its mouth in here. I'm not going to draw its little teeth. I'm just going to do the mouth shape. We want to abstract the bottom a little bit because we don't want it to become such a huge focus. If somebody looks down, it's the hole. But if somebody looks down, they want to know that there's like something going on down here. But like I said, we don't want to put all the detail in. Or instead of it being about Hercules, it becomes about this lion. We can indicate some of the turning of the fur. Squint your eyes and just find the light. There's like a box shape here as well. You know, if I was drawing this in my sketchbook and it wasn't a long pose, it would be much smaller, but I'd probably get about the same amount of information on the drawing. To me, sketching is like taking notes at a lecture in a sketchbook. You know, here we're trying to get ourselves closer to a finished piece of art, I guess, in long pose. Presumably that's what we're doing right now. This is a long pose night. Minute left here. And then we'll take one last break. And the Pontamoro timing. I'm gonna try to reposition this camera though. And maybe I move back or something. Shouldn't have changed it at all. Zoom it out. Maybe that helps you guys see it. My back foot's a little high up. And I gotta finish that top hand. Needs to be bigger, really. It's quite a small hand. Hercules would not have a small hand wielding a tiny little rock. He's not the president of the United States. All right. Whoa! 5 minutes. If you haven't, step back. For God's sakes, back up off of your piece. I'm at an angle here, so I'm not even seeing. Like, you guys aren't even seeing the truth of it. It's maybe closer to that. Even that, then the camera's a little bit distorted. Maybe I'll tilt it this way. There we go. I don't know. That looks like about the right angle. But I mean, you're seeing over the shoulder. There's quite a bit of distortion. Oh, it looks cool from that angle. Anyhow, and where you're seated, wherever that might be, or if you're seated at an easel or at a drawing table, you need to get away from it. Just a little bit. Just step back. Step back. So we'll take 5, and then we'll do the last little bit here. snake head is too big. Damn it. Too boxy. Too stupid looking. I'm gonna bring his face in. Mistakes. Mistakes. Tried to move his head over, but then I grew it too far. Mistakes. Erase your mistakes. There. That's a little bit better. Oh wait, 2 minutes, and then we'll get going. Mistakes. Come on, lights. Oh my god, the light's so beautiful in here right now. Looks like we're gonna get a summer here pretty soon. Lights, thank you. 1 minute. Damn. That back leg got a little too long on mine. This should be a very interesting breakdown. 10 seconds if you're still with us. Okay, well, in order to do a little bit of a thing at the end, I'm just gonna set the timer for 15 minutes. And then I'll kind of free for all it. I don't know, okay, 16 minutes. We'll see where we can go. In sitting, actually this angle looks pretty nice on camera. Yes, Jeff, haven't eaten dinner. I haven't eaten dinner. I missed that meal. Because I had a lovely social distance visit from our good friend and fellow artist who may be watching this or listening right now, Luella. It was wonderful to see Luella again. And she brought me her bottles and cans. She's such a sweetheart. She knows I love taking the bottles in. I'm not going to lie. To me, I see those bottles. I see an opportunity to wash my car. If you guys do watch my Instagram stories, I try to go every week if possible. Not wash my car every week, but I do try to take the bottles in if I can. You got to make the bottles to bring in the bottles, unfortunately. You know, from the head to the ear is the width of the hand. I thought I should make this hand bigger. I'm not so sure I need to. So I'm just gonna draw a little bit of fingers, a little bit of shadows underneath the Coca-Cola. Just gonna put in some details here and there. 15 minutes is not a long time. I am gonna put it up on the screen and you guys can see my messy hair and what's going on here. I do like doing the little bit of the critique. And I was thinking, if you guys are making stuff this summer, that we can do a critique thing where we come into the studio and save numbers and we can bring in the work and just talk with each other and compare what's going on this summer, so that it's not so isolated. I don't have to worry about the social media firestorms that seem to be going on right now. You know, we've got a lot of lovely seniors here, and I don't want to jeopardize models' health or any of your health. So for now, I'm I'm still going to be closed, trying to figure it out. I am able to teach private classes now. So this weekend, I'll work on the website, updating what's going on. I was actually surprised anything opened up here. It's very, very quiet on the C-Space 4th floor. Speaking of the 4th floor, let me go back to the Hannibal, guys. The Hannibal, so good. I'm not talking about Hannibal when I'm talking about Hannibal. I'm talking about how we all think we could be serial killers when we watch shows like that. You know what? There is no freaking way. I hunt. I can skin an animal. There's no way I could do that kind of crap. But we all like to, you know, it's so interesting. I watch the Ted Bundy files. We all kind of think, I know we do. We're so, I mean, to make stars out of serial killers, but we seem to think that we'd be capable of doing these things. And I think that's what makes it so intriguing. The reason I'm talking about this is a little bit more. I'm recording myself on a freaking talking rant. I'm talking and drawing. Is this a baseline to prove future insanity? Am I screwing myself? Oh, there is some neck veins here. Am I screwing myself right now by actually just talking and rambling? And it's like, oh, listen to this recording of this crazy mofo. He just talks and talks and talks. Like, you know, these YouTube guys like Jenna Marbles, they're getting shut down. I gotta be careful what I say, I guess, but that's not as much what I'm worried about because my audience is my friends, presumably. It's a weird world out there. Maybe there'll be a YouTube diagnostic, you know? They'll say, well, we listen to your shit and you're a sociopath. And there it is, you know? There's little curls in the hair. I might do well to give some more small shadow shapes to emulate detail in the time given. You know what humans find more important, the head. I don't have enough information here to actually draw the face. He's in shadow. But I can darken the beard maybe. That's a distinguishing feature, right? So it brings your eye there, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, you know, I see what's going on. I can work on some of the outlines and contours as well in the brief amount of time given. If your model's going to move, what do you need to know? Now the thing that I didn't put in are shadow halftones, but let's put in this lovely Serratus. I love drawing these. I don't think I have them. Maybe everyone does if they like stretch their arm up that high. Ryan for sure has them. Even when he's not raising his arm up. You can't see them as much on the ladies, but it's like they're weaving it out because ladies have a little bit more fat under the skin. Not shaming here. Man, what is happening to this world where I'm like so worried about what I'm talking about? This is what goes on in my mind. That's the worry I should have. Okay, that might have been extreme. Now he looks like an accordion or something. I mean, it's not that far from the truth, but there's no halftones here. So that maybe that was a little bit of a dumb choice. I make them all the time, don't worry. So I can fade my shadow towards the light now. That will give me a little bit of mileage so that I'm softening the core edge, I guess. Can't even tell where I've blended and not, actually. It's looking really sketchy. This is dark by virtue of possibly the fact that it's what material it is. So I got my pencil's really dull, so I gotta change it out here. because I'm drawing details now. Maybe, whoa, this 4B is softer than this is generals. The 4B is softer than the 6B I was just using. Getting the hair a little bit. Lots of little circles. His locks. You know, 8 minutes left. What can I do? I often, when drawing from the model, this might be the point in which I do the hair, or work the portrait a little bit more to get a likeness. It's just time. What do you got time for at this point? This is when everyone's freaking out. And I'm thinking, oh God, I can't wait to go home. And yes, eat. Jeff. Didn't eat dinner. Oh my God. Okay. Still fun. Now Mr. and Mrs. and hopefully Dave's out there drawing with us. It's nice. The students sometimes tag the social media. I haven't been doing much social media because there's not much to say. We're closed for now. Okay. Maybe. Okay. Let's look at this. I've got lots of good darks. There, I could draw some scales here. You know, just indicate little things. I'm gonna put this on to the old social media, so I might want to indicate some stuff here or there. Maybe emphasize this finger because it is grabbing the snake's neck. Think about story. You know what's happening, what's important. Put a little more focus on this hand. This eyeball's still too far up. Jeez Louise, bunnies Louise, jeez. Losing my mind. I hope you guys enjoy this senseless rambling because it's actually kind of fun. This isn't what I'm thinking when I'm drawing. I love reading and working in silence. And since I can't have the music on because YouTube or whatever will block it, I have to just talk, dudes. My dudes. Okay, so my thought is, with 5.5 minutes left, something I should revisit is the light shapes. So I'm gonna erase some lights out here and there. There's even some in the hair. I lost them along the way maybe, and they can be re-emphasized a little bit. Maybe along the rim. Maybe along the bicep. That could even use a little bit more dark. But like I said, I hadn't really done any halftones, so my bad. But wherever the dark got into places that it shouldn't have, I'll erase out the lights. It's just cleaning it up in a lot of ways. This is a pretty messy looking drawing. There's a little bit on the top of the foot. Right, I lost it here on the top of the patella. A little bit on the nutsack right there. Do like a circular shape. That one's okay here. This is actually not even, I'll rub my finger and it's not even light. There's a little bit of light catching the bronze sculpture here and here. Rub it and then lighten it. What about on top of the foot? I lost the top of the foot here and then coming down. Maybe I'll just do some, like, if I rub it and then just draw with the light some triangle shapes to kind of say, yeah, the scale's here. Maybe some reflective scale right there. 4 minutes left and then I'm gonna put it up. I'm gonna change the camera, put it up on the big screen, and we'll see how I did. Just clean it up a little bit. This might have looked better on, God, that hand looks freaking terrible. Finger, 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 huh. It's like not tall enough, it's the problem. You ever have that problem? Your hand isn't drawn tall enough? There we go. He's smashing him with a Pepsi Cola. Maybe I'll leave it a little bit more in the highlight up there. Okay. And I'll just draw some more shape. There, I kind of lost the belly button, but also that line that's so, there we go. Like it's like I put it too far down. Damn. Well, time is a gift given to you all the time you want to use. There's a little bit of light catching right here. A little bit there. That might be a little too much light. Underneath the leg. Here. Oh yeah, there's some shapes here along the belly of the beast. How often do you get to say that? Which means I can harden up this edge. Make it a harder line. There's a little edge and a little more darkness here. I lost the folds. Just add more material. This charcoal's way better than the other one I was using. Maybe some more dark here. Just about a minute left. You know, this charcoal is so different. You know, also, this 6B, like this one is as old as me, at least. Sometimes I get donations from retired folk who are cleaning out their estates, and they say, oh, you got an art school. And I get these little treasures, like these really old pencils that no one used. Materials that I don't even know what they are. Things with lead in them, which I like. All right. I don't know where my brush is, so I'll blow it off. So I'm gonna give it a little signature, just for sake. What is it? July 8th, 2020. Because I'm gonna put it on social media. I'm gonna tilt the camera. I'm gonna put this up beside my setup. You can kind of see everything that's going on. I'll tilt the camera first because it's more interesting. And you can see my reference. Okay. Thank you, time. Thank you, friends. Here we go. Let's pick this to shreds. And I meant to rhyme that out. Sorry. Okay. I hope that's relative for you guys. I feel like it's about the same size, so I'm gonna put it over top. I like doing it this way because I can just kind of like animation, flip it back and forth. Sorry, I'll also have to aim the microphone. Ah, shit, what just happened? Really? Oh, okay. All right, let's try this out. I'm not gonna tear the perforation off. Okay, you guys can tell I can't. My hand was smaller. Wait a minute. Can we, will this work? Damn, okay. My foot is further out, I think. It's a little higher up. Let's look. Whoop, whoop. You know what? The head's a little high, I think. I'm surprised that's the same size. I don't know what it is. I didn't shrink this. I didn't trace it. I don't know how on earth, even though I'm sitting a distance away from here, that I'm fairly close to the size I'm actually seeing it, which is kind of crazy. That might be because I trained sight size. And so I'm used to, even though something's further away, drawing it the size that I see it to make it fit. I don't know. I still think the head is pretty goofy. My head's much bigger and boxier. Not that great. But you can see just the amount of detail here. You can probably see more there. Sorry, I'll move the mic. I don't know. Oh my God. Why is it so sensitive in here? It is absolute chaos in here, actually. So, whoa. Are you serious? Bunny dropped the cable. It's very loosey-goosey in here. If you could see the mess, which I'm not cleaning up tonight, forget about it. Forget about it. It would be nice to, I could do some altering where I turn this black and white to have much darker values on tan, but honestly, after not drawing for this long and having a sore back and having to talk the whole time and change the camera angle, I'm surprised it didn't turn out way worse. So I'm happy with what I got. I'll put it on social media. I'd be interested actually in inking this and simplifying the shapes a little more, or doing something where using paint or gouache and trying to make that still have the form but have the beautiful look of the patina on that sculpture. Anyways, I'm just glad you guys followed along. We're having this one-way conversation, and that you join me again for the next session. Follow, like, share, subscribe. I'm sure I'm missing something with all those things that you're supposed to say at the end of the YouTube video. But I'm looking forward to seeing you and doing this again next week. Ciao for now.